Hey guys, we got a neat video today. We had a request from a friend of ours, Cory with RooBuck Nevada, on how to teach a horse to hobble. So we're going to put this video together. Cory's a good horseman. I'm sure he's done it a million times, but was curious on how I did it. So I wanted to share with you guys kind of the process. You guys, I'm sure, have seen this horse. We've been working with her a little bit over the past few weeks. She's been with us for about a year now. And she is a year and maybe 9 months, something like that. And this is Hakima. So we have, gosh, I think I've given you some background in some previous videos, but she's turning into a pretty nice baby. I don't handle them much when they're this young. She's been in a round pen maybe 5 times in her life, maybe less, truthfully, maybe 3 times. But I wanted to use her today because she's probably one of the only youngsters we've got left that hasn't been broke to hobble yet. That's ready for it at least, right? So I'm going to take you through all the steps that I take kind of in a accelerated learning deal here this morning. So I wouldn't typically go this fast, but this horse is ready for it. And I'll kind of show you what those steps are. So to begin with, one, your horse needs to be able to pick up their feet, right? So obviously needs to be able to do this. She needs a trim, but you guys get the picture. So horse needs to be able to pick up all 4 feet. Next, you need to have roped your horse's feet. So I'm not going to let her loose here and start swinging and catching all 4s. I've got some other videos that you guys can watch on YouTube of me roping horses' feet that haven't been roped before. This horse has had a rope swung around her a handful of times. I roped her to halter breaker, but that's not what today's about. I'm not gonna let her loose and get her really good about roping those feet. She's young. She doesn't need a ton of that exposure right now. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna just put this rope on her front foot here and show you guys what we're looking for. So you need to be able to rope these front feet. If you can't rope, you can just set them on, or I'm sorry, just put that loop on the foot. And I'm gonna hold this lead rope as if it's my reins. And all I'm gonna do is see if this horse will follow. Let me check my angle here. I better tilt down just a little bit here. I'm just gonna make sure that this horse will follow this rope. Thank you. So this may seem kind of counterintuitive for teaching a horse to hobble, because you're like, oh, well, why am I moving their foot if when you're teaching them to hobble, you want them to stand still? Because it's them following that pressure. So when they hit that pressure, they don't fight it, right? So I need her to take a step to the left here. See if she'll follow it. Good. I'll do this from a horse plenty. You know, if this was a horse that maybe was a little big for their britches, I wouldn't have the lead rope on here, or the halter, and just keep moving them with just that foot. But the halter is going to help them understand how to follow that foot, because they understand the principle of a halter, right? So all I'll do is I'll pick up that foot nice and soft. I'll set it, and I'm always angling, right? I'm never pulling straight. And then if she doesn't follow, she's going to. If she doesn't follow, I just pick up that halter and help her understand that she follows that foot. So this is a really good way to go about this. You can see how this could save a horse's life, right? They go through some down wire. You know, maybe it's not the gentlest of horses, and they go through some down wire, and if you've done this with them, you've got the best shot you're going to have of them hitting that pressure on their leg and standing instead of shredding their tendons in their legs. Some horses are just naturally better with this type of stuff, but it's our job, no matter the predisposition of the horse, to get them as good as we can with this stuff. So we'll go ahead and do both fronts, and then we'll do the hinds. So I'm doing this kind of in a compressed version right now. You know, typically, you know, if this horse I hadn't kind of been handling for the past, you know, year or so, I would not be doing all this in one day. I would probably be doing this just maybe these front feet like this, you know, for 15 minutes, and then leaving them for, I don't know, maybe 2 months, something like that, a few months. Less is more with young horses. So when she fights that, I'm trying to help her through that and not just battle it out. If I need to, I will, though. So I need you to step right. Thank you. Very nice. Step right again. Good. So you got to get all that brace out of them, right? That brace is what makes them fight when they get that foot trapped in something. Good. So never pull straight. You're just going to teach that horse to sit back. Pull at an angle here. Good. I'm going to pick it up again here. Good. So that was probably the best one so far. You know, I would say there's nothing wrong with doing it at this age of a horse. You know, she's almost 2. Typically, I won't do it until maybe 2.5. When I'm starting to actually work with them a little bit more consistently, because we start them around 3. When I'm starting to work with them actually a little bit more consistently, I'll start doing this. So usually around 2.5, maybe, you know, kind of when we've got, you know, 5 or 6 months to put on that first ride. When we're getting close to that, I'll start integrating some of this stuff. So, but she's a little early, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, she'll absorb this and retain this for the rest of her life. But the reason this is really beneficial to them, one is just think about each individual limb as being a component of that horse's mind, right? So let's just say 4 quadrants of a horse's mind, just to keep it simple. If I've got every single foot of that horse, I've got every part of their mind. Good job, sweetheart. We've all seen a horse, you know, if you're roping or doing whatever, they may lock up or brace up, and you know, they don't want to swing their hip one direction or whatever, and they just start backing up and it turns into a wreck. So that's because 25% of that horse is not with you. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it, but just keeping things simple for right now, in a nutshell, that's really what's going on. So roping feet, aside from getting them good, if they get that foot stuck in something, really going to be beneficial for just making a more balanced, well-rounded horse as well, mentally and physically. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing this. Pick that up. Nice. One benefit to doing this at a little bit younger age is 2-year-olds can just start getting a little bit big for their britches, right? So that's what I want. I don't want that right now. I want that. Thank you. Yeah, 2-year-olds can start getting a little big, thinking they're the boss, and start pushing and testing their boundaries. And this is something that can sometimes remind them that they're not as big and tough as they think they are. Thank you, girl. So I'm gonna walk her back over here away from that wall. Oh, excuse me. So again, I'm kind of doing this a little bit more accelerated than you might typically. Good. So she thought about pulling that limb back and then gave it and followed it. One more time here. Nice. Nice. Okay. We'll probably call that good on the front feet for now. Like I said, you know, you don't want to rush things, but this horse is plenty prepared. She's in a pretty darn good processing state of mind just overall. I'm going to go ahead and do these hinds just because I'm kind of showing you guys all the steps I would take before we hobble. And when you rope feet, the hinds are going to be really important too. You're probably like, well, you don't hobble the hinds, right? But again, it's part of the mind, right? She needs to give up every individual piece of that mind, each quadrant, just think of it like that. And these hinds is a big part of that. So I'm going to have her walk, then I'm going to stop her. Oh. Oh. Check my frame here. We're using the chest cam today. Make sure you guys can see everything. Oh. So now I'm just going to see if I can manipulate this foot. And set it down where I'd like to set it. Whoa. Oh, a little tangled. I don't want to stop her like that. There we are. So would like her to go left. Whoa. So all I do is I'm just dallying around my hip. Give that to her. You can see speed obviously makes a difference. Nope. I'd like you to turn left, sweetheart. Whoa. So I'm just going to let her work it out a little bit. I'm not pulling. When she pulls forward, she hits that pressure. Give that to her there. Like I said, guys, I'm trying to do this in a little bit of a compressed way, But this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer video, just because there's so much that goes into this. Oh. Good girl, Hakima. Good girl. Good work. Yeah, there's so much that goes into this that you know, I don't want to leave anything out, and this is just something that takes as long as it takes, but it's worth making sure that turn. Thank you. You get this stuff good before you throw those hobbles on. Whoa. Very nice. So what's important to note there is that she took a step backwards. The significance of that is that's her following that tug, right? She says, oh, forward is pressure, I need to back up to get away from that. And that's exactly following the principle of hobbles. This is the same principle as when we were leading her by those front feet. She's following that pressure to stay with it, to you know, stay in that balance point. And her not fighting this, and even thinking about backing up, is her saying, I'm trying to balance with that pressure, trying to find the spot where there is no pressure. There it is. Have her move. Whoa. So that was much better right there. There we are. I want to see when I move her and she hits that pressure, she stops. Whoa. Then keep fighting. Like that. That was pretty nice. Whoa. So now I want to see her slow down a little bit here. Let me set that foot down. Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah. Yeah. Good. We're getting there, boys. Oh. Very nice. Better check my frame again, make sure you guys can see that. I think so. So hopefully some of this is making sense, guys. Make sure they're able to pick up their feet. Make sure you can rope all 4 feet. They're yielding to you softly. Understand the principle, right, of yielding to that pressure, not fighting and tearing up those tendons if they were to get stuck in a fence. Horse is a little bracy. You notice she keeps wanting to keep me in that right eye. I'm not going to stop her on that side, right? I need her going left. Oh. Something that's important to mention. Thank you. Good. Something that is important to mention is when you dally around your hip, you know, I'm not doing it the Mexican style where I throw my rope on the other side. All I do is, see if you guys can see this, all I do is hold my rope like this and wrap it around my hip here, and I'll just quarter away from that animal a little bit, and almost like taking like a half wrap or almost a full wrap, just one single wrap on a horn, except my body is much bigger than a horn, so it's enough resistance to stop those limbs. But something to mention, one, I need to get a little more organized here, but something that's important to mention is make sure that you don't have a small little coil when you dally around your hip in your left hand, because sometimes they'll pull that limb back, and it's just like roping, right? But if you're not too experienced, you know, just be careful. You don't want to have something like that around your hand and go to dally, because when they pull that, that's gonna really hurt. So, you know, make sure one thing I will do sometimes is maybe just make that last coil a little bigger, so you've got a little bit of room if they're sliding some rope through your hand or around your hip. Just a safety deal, and yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So but yeah, I mean, obviously make sure you're decently handy with a rope before you're doing stuff like this. Well, good. Move her one more time here. Whoa. Good, stop. Give her that back. Whoa. Let her check it out a little bit. I want her to give to this a little more than she's been. She's still being a little sassy about it. So that's her finding that balance point of where there's no pressure. Well, much better, much better. Try this one again here. Oh, very nice. So, right, you want to get this pretty damn good. Ideally, you know, I would say this horse is going to have her feet roped quite a few times. Excuse me. Juvenile. Quite a few times before she gets started under saddle, obviously. But, you know, when they're young like this, you don't really need to overdo it, rush it, try and do this a million times. But that's pretty good for her first time having those feet roped and kind of doing it in an accelerated fashion. You know, I obviously wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think this horse was ready for this or could handle this. Oh, sweetheart. Yeah. Well, thank you. Let her find that place. You could definitely do this from a horse. I do it from a horse probably, I don't know, 50-50. But we're doing a lot in one session right now. Right, this isn't about just roping feet. Trying to get her good hobbling. Whoa. Let her find that place. This is why you got to be half decent with the rope if you're doing this, because if you don't know how to dally around your hip and stop, I mean, she probably weighs, I don't know, 700 pounds. I don't know, you guys can correct me on that. Whoa. That can be a lot to stop in your hands and around your hip. Could burn the crap out of your hands if you don't know how to handle it right. Could also hurt the horse if you don't know how to handle them right. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, girl. Well. Something important to mention, I think this is fairly straightforward and maybe a little obvious, hopefully, but do not rope these feet on the cannon bone, okay? Thank you. Make sure you're roping these feet on those pasterns, okay, below that fentlock. Need you to turn right. Thank you. Whoa. Good girl. So speed obviously accelerates a horse's mind, right? It starts to push them into flight mode. But that's why it's important for us to make sure that they're okay at different gaits doing this stuff, right? Whoa. Because I'll ask you this, when your horse gets tangled up in a fence, you think they're going to be totally relaxed and chill and in a walking mind? No. The second it's a real life situation, whoa. Second it's a real life situation, very nice. Whoa. Second it's a real life situation, right? It's dark or getting dark. You got cows running all over the place, whatever. Other horses getting nervous. That situation is going to be elevated. It's not going to be an ideal situation where the horse is in a processing state, where you're in a round pen, they're focused on you, right? If they get stuck in some wire, down wire in a pasture, you know, they're going to be elevated. So, you know, it's our job to some degree to make sure that even in an elevated mind, you know, when things are just processing a little bit faster, right, when they're loping or trotting, that they're still able to follow that balance, find where that pressure is not, and stay relaxed. Whoa. Thank you, girl. Hi, Harky. What are you doing, you wow baby? Whoa. I want her to kind of give this foot up a little bit. I want to be able to see if I'm able to place it where I'd like to place it. Think of the hind end as the engine, okay? As the motor to a vehicle. If they're not willing to give you control over those hind limbs, they're saying, I need the keys to the car. I don't trust that you can drive. And that's a scary place to be on when you get on their back. So this stuff does a lot of good stuff for a horse. Now, I go where I place it. And go where I place it. Thank you. So ideally I want to get rid of all of this, but she's a baby. Things don't need to be perfect today. I just want to get her in a good spot where I think she's going to handle being hobbled pretty good. Well, so good stop. See if I can't set her foot down behind her. Akima. Yeah, I'm not giving it back yet. Smart horse. Trying to keep the camera facing so you guys can see this. All right, girl. Move her a little more here. Oh. Nice backup. I'd like to have her let me set it where we want though here. Thank you. Very nice. So we'll probably call it good on that for those hinds. Nothing perfect today, but she's got the principle. Let me see. Oh, let me see. Thank you. Okay, so to talk a little bit more about how we progress here. Once you feel like your horse can lead by a foot, once you've been able to rope those hinds all right, then what you're gonna do is find yourself some type of cotton rope. Ideally, I just use some stuff you buy at the feed store, Murdoch's, Track Supply, Big R, whatever. Ideally, you want to get some stuff that is a wider diameter, and it's important where you tie this. So you do not want to tie it, just like I said about roping, you don't want to tie it above your fentlock, okay? You don't want to be on that cannon bone when you're first doing this. You want to be on your pasterns, okay? So below the fentlock. Let me make sure this angle's good here again. I am going to put a halter on this horse. Why am I going to put a halter on this horse? Because I can help this horse balance if I need to. So lots of guys do this different ways. Some will just hobble them. Again, make sure you're on soft ground in case for some reason they stumble or fall. You know, you don't want it to be something that's a negative or painful experience to them. So, as you can see, this horse, and once you kind of go through those steps, they should have a pretty good understanding of how to yield to any type of pressure on their limbs. So, and you should have them fairly balanced mentally as well after doing that. This horse is a little bit bracy, wanting to keep me in this right eye, but not too bad. So all I'm going to do here first, just because this is what I do, is I'm going to disengage those hips both directions. Good. Then I'm going to kind of make sure she's centered in this round pen. You can not put a halter on them, but you know, for me, I want to be able to help them if I can. So like if they start panicking or falling apart a little bit, I don't want them necessarily just to fight it out in the beginning, or really ever. I want to just help them understand that this isn't something that's going to hurt you. You just yield to it just like we've been doing. And having that halter on them, I can kind of reposition their balance a little bit and help them figure that out rather than kind of just throwing them into the deep end. So, I'm going to go here. Go around, see if you can see that. And there's a million ways to tie this, it doesn't matter. I just put a loop there, went through, and I'm gonna twist. I want the feet to be close together. Hers already are. I'm gonna go ahead and take another one. I've got some really nice leather hobbles that, whoops, you guys can't see that, hold on. I've got some really nice leather hobbles that I'll do this with when they get a little more broke. But cotton rope works great. This cotton rope is a little bit small in diameter, so ideally get something a little bit thicker than this. Just put a half hitch right there. I'll just kind of get that tail out of the way. It sounds ridiculous. My signal for hobbling is stay, like a dog. Akima, stay. She'll hit it right there. Make sure you guys can see that. Be careful when you're doing this because they'll feel that pressure sometimes and lunge forward. Some licking and chewing there. You're just checking them out. She's a baby, very phallic, right? Nice work. Good job. Akima, stay. Pretty good right there. One change I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and shorten these hobbles up a little bit just for one moment. She's getting a little bit too much movement out of him. So I'm just going to bring this left foot a little bit closer to her right foot. Good job, sweetheart. Doing excellent. Okay. Stay. I'm just trying to create a clear signal that she's hobbled if she doesn't feel it, right? I'm trying to make sure I'm being fair to her so that I don't just walk off one day. She doesn't realize she's hobbled and she tries to follow and falls on her face, right? So I'm going to drop that lead rope now. See if she'll stay there. All I'm doing here is I want to make sure I get in both eyes. Each side of the horse. Make sure we're balanced mentally. Nothing's surprising her. There's not any brace in there. You're okay, sweetheart. You're okay. Yeah, you're okay. So eventually what I'm gonna do is after you get done on doesn't have to be a giant day, but you know, go get a little work done on your horse, and after a few hours or something, when you get back, just hobble them and help them understand that, you know, hobbling's kind of a good deal for them, right? That they just get to chill and stand there and hang out. And, you know, to begin with, I'll just tie them where I usually tie them and hobble them once they're good about this in a round pen. And I know that they're not going to have a big wreck. But, yeah, I'll start tying them, you know, where I usually tie them, hobble them after we get done and let them sit there for a little bit. But that's pretty common. I would say most guys do that. But eventually you just, right, you can see where this leads. You just take off the halter, and you don't need to tie them. And, you know, you just walk them up to where they've been tied for a long time, whether it's a trail or at your place. And you hobble them and they stand there all day. So one thing to mention about hobbles is it is okay for a horse to be able to graze when hobbled. Right, obviously if they're not tacked and don't have a bit or anything on their head, right? You know, if you're packing in the backcountry and you know, you want your horse to eat a little bit, that's all right sometimes. But it's okay for them to be able to move a little bit with hobbles too. I think that's kind of a misconception. People are like, they got to stand still and never move and blah blah blah, and to some degree. But the point of hobbles is that they're somewhat stationary, but they can still defend themselves if they need to. So they could still kick out, they can pivot their hind end around. They figure out how to work with hobbles to some degree. Everybody's heard about horses running with hobbles or running off or whatever, and that can happen, right, if you don't teach this too great in the beginning. But I want my horses to understand hobbles and what they can and can't do in them. So I want them to understand that they're fairly stationary, but they can still defend themselves if they need to. You all right? Hakima. Looking and chewing. So this is just a big part of the process of her figuring out where those boundaries are with the hobbles, right? Just like having her feet roped. Good. I don't want to see flight mode when they have hobbles on, right? I want to see relaxation. I understand where the boundaries are. I'm cool. So take your time. Take all these steps as slow as you need to, or as fast as you need to. I mean, if the horse is ready for it, don't hold them back. Let them do it. But yeah, take your time. Do this right, because you'll use it a ton. So there she's pivoting her hip around. She understands that she can move her hind end, which is awesome. Hi, sweetheart. Yeah. You're doing great. You're doing great. So you don't want to leave them like this the first time for a long time. All I'm doing is I'm waiting to see something. When I used to hobble, I used to let them test it a few times and go ahead and take them off. That's all right. But the longer you do this, more experience you have. You know how much you can ask out of a horse, and you know really what you're trying to get and what's fair to them. A girl, sweetheart. Hi. And I know I've got something in mind that I'm looking for with this horse, and that is just a little bit more relaxation. Stay. So that was pretty good right there. She hit it, yielded, moved her hip, right? She was trying to move, and initially tried to move her front end and hit that hobble, realized she couldn't, and remembered she can just pivot her hind end around. So that's really nice. Hakima. Hakima. I want her to look right a little bit more here. I'm just gonna pick up my lead. Not ask her to move, but yeah. Good girl. You guys see the licking and chewing there? She's gonna look right a little more. There we are. Thank you. I just felt like she was getting a little bracy right there. don't know if you guys can see it though. I really like the demeanor of everything right now. She may test it here again. Good girl, Hakima. But yeah, that's pretty good to me. Right, we're not trying to make this 100% today. Good job, girl. All I'm trying to look for, especially with this horse, she's young, but we've done this a lot. Not with her, obviously, but I mean in my career. And I've got a kind of a checklist that I'm looking for with some of these horses, depending on where they are and their disposition and so on. Good job, girl. So for her, if I were to summarize kind of what I was looking for right there, I was looking for no brace, as much relaxation as I could expect, and for her to build some basic understanding of what she can do in those hobbles, and really understanding to yield to them without panicking. That's a lot to expect in one session, but for this horse, I know she's capable of it. She's doing so good, and is going to shape up to be one heck of a horse, considering she's only a year and 9 months. So she's also going to be a really nice sized athletic horse. If you guys don't know much about her, before we finish up, I'll just recap some information I have in other videos. She's I believe a Hancock cross on some type of highbrow cat. Nicely bred. She'll have some, you know, she's got 4 black feet, big bones, big feet. And she's going to be a good stout horse. That's hopefully pretty darn cowy too. So, she was born, bred outside. You know, we roped her to halter breaker. Hadn't really seen a human before we got her. So, she's coming along really nice, settling down good. So, make sure you get these horses into a good mindset before you do stuff like this. Make sure you got some good fundamentals, good understanding, for them to be prepared for this, and you know, take your time. You know, there's no point in pushing them too hard and creating a situation that's going to give them a negative memory that they're going to hold on to. So to recap, guys, this was for Cory Hershkowitz, RooBuck Nevada. I'm sure he's done this a million times, but asked me how I do it, and wanted to share kind of my process here. Like I said, if I've got a lot of time, or if the horse is a little touchier, I'll break this up, you know, quite a bit. I may do rope and feet for 15 minutes, you know, once, and then let them sit for a few months or something, or a month or two. But you know, if your horse is older, or if they're in a you know, pretty good mindset, coming along good, and they just don't have this piece of the puzzle, you know, you could probably do this pretty darn quick with them, especially if they're good with a rope around their feet, or good with things around their feet already. So but take your time if you need it. But you know, if you got a good horse, if you're a pretty good horseman, and I know Cory is a good horseman, but for everyone else out there, if you're a pretty good horseman, you know, you can get this done pretty quick. But just take your time if you need to, and do the best job, and give these horses the best memories you can, because it's better to do things right the first time, and not have to keep going back and undoing things, and rushing it, and, you know, creating anxiety in those horses. So hope that makes sense, guys. Questions, comments, leave them below. And as always, if you like seeing content like this, please click subscribe. We really appreciate it, guys. I mean, we just started the YouTube deal maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, and you guys watching the videos all the time is so freaking neat. So you know, we love sharing what we do every day, and love the comments, love hearing from you guys. So thank you to everyone for watching, sincerely. It means a lot. So if you're new, click subscribe. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.